Good evening, good afternoon also, and good morning. It is a great pleasure for me to open and to lead today's transdisciplinary, transcultural meeting. The more I'm happy when I see so many passionate people who join us today and who care about the futures, because education means future. Today we look at a blurred horizon between the present and the future through the lenses of STEAM education, bridging science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, with special focus on the role of art. Today's event is part of the Art and Science, part of Art and Synergy program, Science Synergy program, organizing by Art and Science Node at Plant Biology Europe Congress 2021, and accompanies the virtual exhibition Capture the Futures, Our Biotechnology Planet, the Roots to Roots, Networks and Beyond. This webinar, focused on education, is a great opportunity to exchange knowledge, experiences, reflections, and visions. But first of all, I believe it will inspire you to make further actions. And this is of a particular importance today in the face of immense dynamic social, cultural, economic, and environmental changes. We have a huge responsibility how to prepare young generations to be able to solve problems that are even impossible to imagine today. Question arises how to open areas of specializations and combine experiences and methodologies of various fields, how to develop projects in which these disciplines can meet, giving a more holistic view and stimulating cognitive processes, but also skills of entrepreneurial, creative, and critical thinking. My name is Jana Hoffman. I am chair of Art and Science Node, but also I'm an artist and professor of the University of Arts in Poznań, where I am leading studio for transdisciplinary projects and research at the Faculty of Art Education and Curatorial Studies. And it is a great pleasure to introduce to you our prominent participants of today's event session. Professor Przemysław Wojtaszek, Vice Rector of Adam Mickiewicz University in Poznań, and the member of the Scientific Organizing Committee in Plant Biology Europe 2021, and the Deputy Chairman of the Molecular Biology Committee of the Polish Academy of Sciences. And I would like to underline his encouraging support for our art and science education projects for over 10 years, including Club of Science and Art in Poznań. Professor Malena Lembicz, who is botanist, plant ecologist, and academic teacher at the Faculty of Biology, Adam Mickiewicz University. And she was twice a member of the EU Action Cost Management Committee and now chairwoman of the mycological section of the Polish Botanical Society and the member of leading team of the interdisciplinary project Rhizosphere, the big network of small worlds. And recently also the initiator of a novel STEAM curriculum at her faculty. Nina Czegledi, her long contribution to merging artistic and scientific milieus cannot be enough rewarded. She is curator, scientist, media artist, researcher, and educator based in Toronto. She is board member of Leonardo ISAS and co-chair of Leonardo Education and Art Forum in 2009. And also a founding member of the independent Pandemic Provocateurs. She contributes regularly to the Journal of Virtual Creativity, as well to the Leonardo Journal, published by MIT Press. Today we have also with us Dr. Anna Marie Nikolaisen, who is a doctor in philosophy, medical anthropologist, and senior researcher in agroecology at the Department of Plant Sciences, Faculty of Biosciences, Norwegian University of Life Sciences. Currently, apart from teaching agroecology, action learning in farming and food systems, she is also involved in 2 research projects related to urban agriculture. cultivating public spaces, and the Horizon 22 project, Next Food, educating the next generation of professionals in the agri-food system. Piotr Słomczewski is assistant at the Studio for Transdisciplinary Projects and Research at the University of Arts in Poznań. He is an artist who works with various media and also interactive technologies, but he is also a person with synesthesia, let's say intersensual connections, and he develops new, friendly, and universal formula tests for detection of various types of synesthesia for children to enhance their learning and creative abilities. And he is also expert and collaborator in a Twinning EU projects. And I would like to specially welcome our European Twinning ambassadors. Seda Göçen, teacher of social studies at the secondary school in Istanbul, and her Twinning project received the National and European Quality Labor Awards. In 2021, she received the European Twinning Prize in the category of Pejo Javarov. Tomasz Ordza is a teacher of sciences and vice director at Kazimierz Nowak Primary School in Dąbrówka, an ambassador of the Twinning program and synergies between Twinning and Erasmus+, co-organizer of Twinning projects awarded with Quality and European Seal. He is also the founder of the interdisciplinary competition, Science, I Like It, and cooperates with the magazine Biology at School, propagating STEM practices. Helena Cristano Carvalho is a teacher at the Grupo de Escolas de Álvaro Velo Barreiro in Portugal, coordinator of the club Eco Amigos de Natureza, Eco Escolas, and of the Erasmus KA2 projects. Just as Seda's and Tomasz's and Helena's projects related to environmental education and the Twinning projects have been awarded with Quality and European Seal, and in 2020 won National Award in the category of Climate Change. Last but not least, I would like to welcome our special guest, Daniel de la Torre, who finished International Kunstschule in Berlin, and now he's a student at Werner von Siemens Gymnasium in Berlin. Daniel made his school internship at Art and Science Node, helping us with our virtual exhibition. So, new STEAM educational strategies are based on a problematic approach that integrates knowledge and methodologies from various fields, which are determinant of education in the 21st century. Art and art education play a special role in them. And there's no better example of the inspiring role of art in creating a new educational curriculum and structures as the interdisciplinary project Rhizosphere, the big network of small worlds. And this project is inspired by scientific research on plant communication networks, especially in the area of root zones, where no hierarchical networks evolves based on diversity, symbiosis, and interdependencies. Sustainable systems that can survive for many thousands of years. It is high time that we use the wisdom of nature to develop our own social communication networks, including more flexible and democratic educational structures. So Rhizosphere is the art science education project based on a long years cooperation between the Studio for Transdisciplinary Projects and Research and the Faculty of Biology of Adam Mickiewicz University. Its sibling was an artistic project, Mykorrhizator, by Maria Subczyńska, then a student in my studio, inspired by mycorrhiza and scientific research of Professor Władysław Polsyn. With the support of Piotr Słomczewski, Mykorrhizator became an ever-evolving interactive art installation and the axis of many interdisciplinary workshops. And as I mentioned, the start of Rhizosphere, the great network of small worlds, a constantly growing network, attracting more and more stakeholders, artists, scientists, educators. So the project inspired by Rhizosphere became itself a growing Rhizosphere, creating new structures of creativity flow and knowledge exchange, opening traditionally closed academic systems and inspiring new actions. And at this moment, I would like to give the virtual floor to Professor Przemysław Wojtaszek, who has been supporting the growth of our art and science synergy for so many years as scientist, the Dean of the Faculty of Biology, and now as Vice Rector of Adam Mickiewicz University. Dear Professor Wojtaszek, what has been your motivations?
Joanna, thank you very much. Yeah, motivations. I would say that this is something which is common to probably all of us, or all of you, or however we will call it. This is curiosity. Curiosity is always something which is deeply or more at the surface behind our interest in everything, how the world is working, how the human societies are working, how human beings are working, and everything like this. And this is always curiosity. This is always the need to explain something which was unexplainable in earlier, or something which is unexplainable at this stage of knowledge which we've got now. And I would say that this is always, even if the curiosity is a driving force, then there is another element, and something which is, let's call it familiarity. So we are always working with something, or we feel better, and we are working better with something which is familiar to us. So the building bridges, building access to different ways of thinking, different ways of looking, different visions, and different perspectives is always something which is refreshing. And this is always something which provides us with a new angles of view, new ideas. And I will probably, the best way will be to recall the one of the sentences which were put during the first day, during the opening of the exhibition. So these were words from Professor Bosch, who recalled the sentences like, what is the color of the molecules, what is the sound of chemical reaction, and stuff like this. And this is always something which provides us with a completely different point of view. And this is something which is always a driving force, at least for me, because this is always something that I can see something which was, let's call it familiar to me, in a completely different way. And I would also like to recall one of the sentences from my discussions with people from mathematics faculty. One of them mentioned something that mathematics is the poetry of natural sciences. So if you remember, we are always saying about mathematics that the science is as scientific as it contains mathematics. So biology is quite far away, and we are in this connection. We are very poor scientists, because mathematics is still trying to build bridges to biological sciences. But if we will look from the point of view that mathematics is a poetry, then probably it's much better to see biological issues in such a way. Not everyone remembers that the great poet Goethe was in fact a biologist, and he created even some, let's call it for today, the disciplines or sub-disciplines of biological sciences. So or invented, let's call it in this way, some of the sub-disciplines of biological sciences. So this is the most important thing. We always can learn from each other. We always can teach each other, and we can, from this, we can build completely new qualities. So this is something with which I would like to start this, let's call it panel from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Przemysław. And I would like now to give the virtual floor to our twinning ambassadors.
Thank you for having me. I am Helena. I am a Portuguese science teacher. The topic of communication between three is little known to most people, and the students were very interested, and we started by launching a drawing competition using the Zentangle technique. Students also made a 3D model that represents communication between three.
An important aspect of the project was not only scientific, cognitive, but also social, educational. Students use technology, engineering, but also mathematics to create the various components of the projects. Before moving again to remote education, we managed to organize not only field activities devoted to the diversity of trees and fungi around our schools, but also a science art open air, during which the students, after a theoretical introduction about the communication between plants and also trees and fungi, proceed to capture scientific data in their artistic vision of this type of relationship. Art, in my opinion, can be a great expression of science.
During this workshop, I was very surprised of the work of the children. Their commitment, creativity, imagination, and sensitivity made a big impression on me. And I want to say that we achieved together our intended goal. The success was that the art wasn't only used to illustrate the scientific concepts, but became a real tool for discovering the world of nature and relations in ecosystem. Art has become a tool for discovering scientific truths and communicating these truths through artistic activity. A few more. And as we can see, each of the drawings is connected to other. And all of these concepts are bonded in one big ecosystem of imagination of children. "40 drawings of 40 different perspectives of the ecosystem, of relations of ecosystems, and 40 perspectives of nature in one piece of art made by children. Thank you very much."
Tomasz, I don't know if you want to add something, because I know that it was a very intensive also cooperation between Poland, Turkey, Portugal, and there's a lot of documentation and e-books and also videos showing different parts of this very intensive year. We have the e-books also on our website on Art and Science Note and education part, and I will encourage everybody to see that this project was not only about the natural ecosystem, but also the cultural ecosystem, which were engaged in this in the process. So you are very welcome to go to website of Art and Science Education, and also to a twinning site to see various aspects of this project. So from Poland and Europe, we are now moving to Canada, to Nina, who got entirely different perspective on the subject.
Hello, Joanna. Hello, everybody. And I would like to extend big hugs and thank you, not only for Joanna and the whole team and all the participants, but whoever is participating in this event. Thank you very much. It's wonderful. So we are talking about education and learning. As I see it, we have an ongoing and particularly intense period of transformation, and also a strong revival of interest in interdisciplinary scholarship and a wide range of hybrid partnerships. And what is driving these initiatives? Is it due to new policies, new opportunities, or is it driven by the needs of the emerging generation? Did any of the educational experts come up with feasible and holistic solutions? To the best of my knowledge, there are very few answers yet, despite the fact that the interest of students today is often not in harmony with the traditional educational systems rooted in the 19th century models of institutional structures. The integration of innovation and new learning technologies in education is urged everywhere. But will this be sufficient to prepare students for the future? We might find some answers in hybrid methods, transdisciplinary collaborations, moving toward a fundamental change in the way education is practiced. In my experience, interdisciplinary initiatives, including dual diplomas and intergenerational involvement from a very early age, are positive, proactive goals for the future. Just a few examples of my own experience. In March, and this is the first slide, thank you. In March 2018, as part of the Leonardo 50th collaborations, Wombat, a workshop for children on audible forms and AI was organized at the Prezi headquarters in Budapest. 18 keen and industrious participants between the age of 8 and 14 created music from fruits and their own drawings with excellent help from our workshop leaders. It is important to note that these children do not necessarily know much about AI and are not necessarily aware that they participate in an AI workshop. However, the experience will stick for later recollections. Second slide, please. The Peace, Water, and Power event was also a Leonardo 50th celebration in Parihaka, New Zealand. It included a conference featuring Maori scholars, an exhibition, and basic electronic workshop for Maori children, school children. Parihaka is a so-called Maori Marae community get-together. The event represented significant engagement with the Maori community in terms of knowledge transfer. And if I can have the third slide, please. In September 2020, the post-pandemic provocateurs, Joel Slayton, Nina Zagledi, and Roger Molina, and Vaina Negretti, in collaboration with Markus Neustetter, presented a special virtual public conversation on the topic of learning and education in the pandemic. Our presenters, So Yang-ro, South Korea, Fred Paulino, Brazil, Markus Neustetter, South Africa, and Joe Wei, China, told us about the current COVID learning environment from their own local context. These and similar events, I hope, will help us towards an effective learning environment. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. I think that we will have time to discuss a little bit more this fascinating project. And I would like now to move to Norway, to Dr. Anna Maria Nikolaisen.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. And the invitation was sent to my institute, and the institute leader asked me because in our plant science institute, actually, I don't know of any involved with art, but I work in agroecology group where we have a 2-year international master in agroecology, and there we accept students from all backgrounds. So it's transdisciplinary. I am from Norway, but I did my education in the US, and I just attached a photo here on the first page of a doll from the Ballard Institute of Puppetry at the University of Connecticut, where I did my studies. And I think puppetry is a good example of a really long tradition in how they have combined teaching and art in so many centuries, right? So that, and then some of the text I present later is from publications I have together with my colleagues. Next slide, please. So in our agroecology program, we focus, there's a circle down here around phenomenology. So we do focus, of course, on the subject of agroecology and a little about what that is, but mainly we focus on how to learn and do agroecology. So we focus on epistemology, experiential learning, phenomenology, and system thinking, because we think that when the students learn to learn, they can, throughout the rest of their life, learn everything they need to do as they go in agroecology and other areas. The most important is to help them learn how to learn. For that, we use phenomenology, and we think of that as returning to the farming system. Now there's a chat here, so I couldn't see. Yeah, farming and food systems as they are. So next slide, please. So mathematics was mentioned earlier here, and we use this ontological reversal described by Harvey in 1989 as an example of how the sciences moved away from the experiential world and into a theoretical world where concepts and models about the world took the pre-stage as the important, and there was less or no appreciation for the real world. So we think there need to be an ontological re-reversal. We think we need to go back in teaching to the ontological and give ontological primacy to the life world phenomena. In our case, the students go out on casework. They work on real issues in the farm and food system. And we tell them that the farm, or they learn and experience and see with all their senses that the farm they work at and the reality out there is more important, and it's always more than they can learn in any book. No, not all the literature of agriculture can describe all aspects of the farm or the reality out there. Next, please. So we were inspired, for example, by, in the experiential and phenomenology, we were inspired by Moran, to return to concrete lived human experience in all its richness, to provide a basis for the student to be open-minded, exploring the diversity of the life world they're exposed to and the human relationships. So with this type of preconceptual attitude, which I think have similarities to how art is understood, to go in with an open mind, gain a rich sensual expression of the phenomenon itself, and leave concepts aside for later. Next slide, please. So we build also on Dewey, who urges us as educators to integrate students' prior knowledge, for example, through reflective experience. And he developed in his arts as experience that aesthetic experience is regarded as the result, the sign, and the reward of that interaction. So we call it that, or we say we work with transformational education. So that learning through experience and reflection on the experience. Yeah, I just included this. I think here you have the links to art, even if none of us are professionally educated in the art. I have a background in drawing and photography, but we're not professional, either of us. Next slide, please. So we train certain key competences, observation, as I mentioned, with being on the farm. And in observation, we also include sensing, hearing, tasting, all our senses. Reflection on what you learn, visioning, to learn from the future, to imagine what can be, to participate with the ones you work with, and to learn to have a dialogue with everybody they interact with. Next slide, please. observation, especially the competence to see what's there and openly and carefully examine situation before jumping to conclusions. To try to see the whole picture of the situation before you assume that you have a quick solution. Next, please. So I have a question and also the dilemma we have. Often we have students who are very gifted artistically, and in the grading process, for example, we feel that we cannot grade them or evaluate them on those qualities because we are not qualified to do that. But of course, we appreciate it, and I just want to show a couple of examples. Charlotte Perlet, who's an excellent drawer, who did lots of drawings working with urban agriculture. Next, please. Hannah Lagoon, who combined sketches when talking about the topic I had in the first photo of the doll, the problem of the ivory tower, that maybe we as academics or researchers communicate between our towers, but we're not down on the ground. Next, please. So we don't have any communication with, in our case, the farmer on the ground. Next, please. And that we should, she encouraged us to leave our lab coat in the office and go out. And the final slide, please. And yeah, in dialogue and interact and learn also from the reality of those we do research on and cooperate with. So yeah, I wasn't sure on what to bring in here, but it's a little of what we do, and it's the issue of what do you do with the artistically gifted students, for example, when you don't have any artists on the staff. But we do encourage them to use their senses and their abilities, and use visual arts or drawing rich pictures and so on. Thank you. This, the last slide is also a picture by a student, the same student, Hannah Lagoon, which I think is a very good one.
Thank you, Anna Marie Nicolais. And I think that this actually education in agroecology must be a fascinating activities, because it's a very complex and holistic field. And I think that it doesn't have a long tradition as a single academic discipline. So by itself, it's interdisciplinary, and you were speaking about different approaches and how to activate cognitive processes of students. So that's very interesting. So thank you very much for your presentation. And yeah, thank you. And before we will go to panel discussion, we would like to make a small survey. And I was inspired by Buckminster Fuller, who is for me one of the biggest visionaries of the 20th century, who claimed that you are in a race between education and catastrophe. But now it's the question, which education? What is in fact the aim of education in the 21st century? It is just a transfer of knowledge, or maybe something else. So I would like Tomek to share his screen again. And I would like to engage a little bit our panelists and also all our audiences who are with us.
Yes, hello.
Ask this question.
Tomek here again. And And yes, I'd like to invite you all.
Tomek, your microphone is switched off.
Ah, yes, sorry. Hello, here again, troublemaker. I'd like to invite you to go to menti.com and I'd like to share my screen. And there you can find some questions for you about education of the future.
So shall we scan the Q code?
Yes. Okay. You can use your mobile phone to read QR code, but on the chat there is a link, and you can find code and just write. And a few minutes we can I can show what we think about the future of education. So I hope everything will be okay.
So we have 3 keywords to write, yeah?
Yes, and I show results now.
Not yet.
Not yet. I can waiting. I can wait. Like in school, don't look at work others. So our Menti is in progress.
So we have now interdisciplinarity, empathy, relations, cooperation, motivation, freedom, relationships, Wi-Fi network, personal growth, interconnections, independent thinking, and something added, problem solving, yeah. Integrity, okay, raising awareness, independent thinking, transfer of knowledge. Okay, I think that you can stop it.
Okay.
And compare it with the keywords of Daniel de la Torre.
Yeah. So should I talk about that or?
Yeah, you have your.
Yeah. So that were my words. So I have these five words. First of all, I have management. For example, when in this last year we were in the what was called again, quarantine, I think, where you had to manage when you do the work all by yourself because you had to do it. Then socialization. In school, you have to talk to people and your teachers to understand how to solve those problems. And you get to know many things, and that's why I have knowledge there too. Then self-esteem. That's a very important one. I'm normally very, how do you say it, nervous, and I don't really like to do presentations, but school has taught me that you have to also be like you have to not be nervous and the word isn't coming to my mind right now, and like sorry, think that you're not the worst and do the presentations.
I think that is quite interesting that self-esteem appears here. And of course, well, because education is a big work for both teachers and students, and the management. I think it's really important, the skills to acquire. Thank you, Daniel. And now I would like to pass to start the panel discussion. Kalino, can you stop the sharing? Yes, thank you. The view. Okay. We prepared some questions. I don't know if you will have time to answer all of them, because I think that they are very interesting. And you are very welcome also to write in the chat your own answer to these questions, your reflections. We'll gather that and also publish on our website together with the documentation of our meeting. So the questions that we would like to pose is the integration of innovation and new learning technologies into education is urged everywhere these days. But will this be sufficient to prepare students for the future? The second question is, what would be the role of artificial intelligence in the future education systems? Is climate education a necessity? Are visual arts used mainly in an instrumental way in a science education? That is very provocative, especially I guess from me and Piotr. And how we can integrate the STEAM subject while respecting the genuine characters. This is one of the big problems of STEAM education, I guess, too. So we start with the first one, the integration of innovation, new learning technologies into education is urged everywhere these days. But will this be sufficient to prepare students for the future? Because we know that the education is not only the acquisition of specific knowledge and skills, but also development, internal development, personal development, personal growth, creating relationships. So I would like to invite our panelists to take the floor. Who would like to start? I think Nina, that's yours. You're kind of a concern, I think, very much, especially knowing about this AI workshop.
Well, it is my question. I really would like to know if we can have an in-depth investigation about this, because there is so much, excuse me for the word, but rhetoric about education, and not enough activity about involvement and intergenerational involvement. And I think it is a big mistake, because it will be very difficult to to see where do we go with education unless we really have an intergenerational. And when I say intergeneration, I don't only mean the youngest emerging generation, but I mean a respect for both ends of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. I don't have any answers, because I don't see anything formal. So unless we will be able to do something better in terms of informal and spontaneous input, I question what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. And I think that it is also the aim in our Rhizosphere project to bring different levels of education, but also different ages, different experiences, as you just mentioned. And yeah, this is because on one hand there are different perspectives and different views. And I think that Tomek can say something about it, because he actually started this, at least, between the very intensive cooperation between kids and university.
Thank you. I think recent times when the world has slowed a bit for education should mean integration, caring for relations, cooperation, exchange of experiences and skills, of course. Individualization is important too, and above all, shaping key skills. In my opinion, the eTwinning projects or other project should be written in such a way that the student has a space for creative thinking, self-development, logical conclusions, and group cooperation. So these types of projects and cooperation between schools and universities are a good step towards integration knowledge between different scientific disciplines and society, of course, because we in primary school sometimes we can think that we don't touch science. It's not true. Here in primary school, we are speaking about science, about art, and our students go to university. So yes, we should a little more cooperation. I think so.
If I may interact, I just would like to say that one other point is, I think, very important today, that we take into consideration the local context.
Yeah.
Not only a Euro-centric or a US-centric or a whatever-centric point, but the local context. Yeah. Thank you.
I think that the projects of our eTwinning team who made the project about amphibians, about bees, and on a very from the local and from micro and macro scales. I think this is the very good examples, and I really encourage everybody to go to these eTwinning projects on climate changes which we are experiencing in our point where we are here. But I think that what also Nina mentioned here about it's a long life learning, that the learning is not only closed in the institutions. We learn all the time, and I think that we are coming to this times, as you also, Nina, said, that of the big changes, and what we learn now we have to use in an extremely creative way for the future. So because well, this is also the question that I posed in the beginning. We don't know how we can teach the young generation to solve the future problems that we cannot even today imagine. They have to have skills that they will allow them to use their knowledge in a creative way, or their skills, or how to develop the skills. And this cross social interactions, I think these are really crucial nowadays. And I think that this is somehow also connected with my second question about the role of artificial intelligence in the future education systems, because this is also the kind of a moment when of this big change, because on one hand side, there's a promises of personalized education, that AI will create more personalized, nice curriculum, and curricula will be shaped by the system according to students' abilities, character, even talents, potentials, which sounds really great. On the other hand side, we are a bit afraid of serving big corporations or systems needs, and which are far from personal development. And I guess it's also connected with the particular concept of intelligence and the concept of usability. But also that education is always about relationship. So I think that the role of a teacher will change a lot. So I would like also to ask you what you think about all these changes.
Gil Scott is saying something in the chat. Maybe you should look.
I have to open this better. What about the facilitation of education for collaboration where expert skills can come together to solve real world problems? Yeah, so maybe this is the question to Professor Wojtaszek.
I am thinking, yeah, I would say that my beginning here now for this discussion is the present pandemic situation, or rather the situation with vaccination. And as we can see it, I think that we should see it as a failure of educational system. I don't know at which level, and I don't know why, but in fact this is. So anti-vaccination campaign is so strong that, of course, there are quite a lot of different factors which should be considered here, but part of it, we should blame ourselves within the educational system. And then, of course, then it raises the question, what should be done to change this? And there is no easy way to answer. With your last question about artificial intelligence, I'm afraid that this would be even worse. In one respect, we can see now that people are starting to live in, how to say it, individual bubble Earths of information generated by algorithms. So in fact, the communication is much more difficult than it was previously. And if we are thinking about such global effects like pandemics, like climate changes, like anything like that, where the joint common efforts are necessary, where communication is extremely necessary, then such individualization of also information flow is something which is acting basically on the contrary. So the role of educational system, or the role of maybe not even educational system, but the role of all the participants of such education, it looks for me that it is a little bit something like going back to the history. So building bridges between people, building individual bridges, and then hoping that these bridges will again restore something which will enable us the global action, or even action, maybe even local actions, but with global effects. And I can give only one example, and Joanna knows it very well. It's Fascination of Plants Day. If you are looking on this, not even a single day, but several days in May, each 2 years, and then if you are looking on the activities of the people throughout the whole world, doing something, showing the importance of plants in life, and doing it and seeing all the people of all ages united in this one effort to demonstrate.
One I posted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think where it was mentioned by Jill that yeah, education color where experts can come together, but I think we I mean, in the end, you know, the complex wicked problems of today with climate and every other problem, we cannot sit expert or academics, you know, separate, and yeah, we can share knowledge and work together, but we also need to really interact and participate with the ones on the ground, to put it like that. I mean, we are also on the ground, but and learn to respectfully listen to the perspective of anybody, of any farmer, of any person in any type of position in society, and have a dialogue and see their point of view. And I think only by understanding also their perspective and cooperate with them, we can join more hands and forces for the changes we need to make. Because the changes need to be, people need to understand that their perspective is understood, and that they are a part of, that they can be a part of doing it. If it's something that's too far from their reality, why should they have the energy or time to even take part in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is actually very important, that this future, say, teaching and learning, because I think that this mutual process. And that I also refer to Nina, what Nina said also, of this cross-age education, that by teaching we learn, and by learning we also teach our teachers. That it's important to introduce this problem solution approach, is to actually emerge in the problem. And this, I think, it is the best when you are directly, that you have a direct, it's your environment, this problem, that you have to make this problem your own space. And then through this immersion, you have to stimulate the solution or the future or the processes which are involved in this problem. So I think this is, this cooperation between the various environments, I think it's really crucial. I think that Tomek and Helena can support this.
Yes, yes, absolutely, totally, I agree. Elena, I think Elena and Seda the same. And when I heard our discuss, I think about this year, the Safer Internet Day. This is a very important date in the school, because we are speaking about how to use internet, about fake news, about different things connected with internet. And in this school year, about project Wide Networking Wi-Fi of Plants and Fungi, I'd like to show you. We ask students about what is the internet Wi-Fi to me, and 62 students from Istanbul or Turkey, Portugal, and Poland answers. And communication is the most important for them. So the young people, when they hear internet, they think about communication. Nowadays, when we are working from home, at home, we have school at home, learning, knowledge, information, it's important for them. So we together made a movie about the Safer Internet Day, where students not only used Mentimeter, but I can show you, for example,
sharing possibilities.
Students
Informed education.
And students show us their idea about this problem, about communication, about internet. So we cooperated in this big network from Dąbrówka, Istanbul, Barerio, Lisboa, and together made this movie, this campaign for, I think so, this is important for not only for student, but also for teacher and parents. So I keep my fingers crossed for communication, for our big network, and I think this project, our cooperation in national, international teams, is a big challenge, but good possibility to development all societies.
May I say something? I would like to fully agree with Anne-Marie, but I would like to also propose something a step further. For all of us who are involved in organizations about conferences and meetings, we have artists, scientists, designers, but we should go even further. We should invite people from the legal profession, from journalists, social scientists, just to have other voices. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. That's definitely, it's a very good advice, and we'll try to next time to do it. Yeah, to expand that. Yeah, this is a very, very, very important to bring people from different environments. We always say, you know, art and science energy, but actually it says art and science and society energy, and definitely the stakeholders are the part of this discourse. I think that the time is running, so I will go fast to the next question. Is climate education a necessity? I think that all presentations said that yes. And I think that like this agroecology, it's the holistic subject which can bring all well, all disciplines, not only scientific, but also humanities, philosophy, because I think that the changes has to involve also the change of our way of thinking, our perception of our relation with environment. If somebody wants to add something to this necessity. And I think that all project of twinning, and we have been doing somehow also relates to this climate. And there's a very, you know, also a provocateur question. Are visual arts usually used mainly in an instrumental way in science education? Oh, so Piotr, please, what do you think? Do you feel that in your experience with all the workshop that you are doing with our scientists?
I don't know if I properly understand the question. Can you?
Yeah, so it is like more like that, like if art is used more as a illustrative tool, or you know, just to yeah, to serve science.
No, I think the art cannot serve anything. Art is it is self. What to say? Is a tool that can help us to discover reality in which we are living. And the art isn't a slave for any discipline.
I think that the art can serve a lot of functions and not excluding each other, because it can help to understand natural or scientific knowledge or processes in the nature. But it's also, through art, we also express deep issues of cultural values. It's also a communication tool. And Nina is scientist and artist. So I think that this is also very, very, very interesting combination. And I think that maybe each of us has in ourselves a part who is scientists and artists, and it's somehow it's in all the time in interactions. These two things. What, Nina, what do you think? I don't hear you.
I know now. Well, I was first working in experimental science and medical research, and then I switched. And I really think that it is very important to, as again, to interlace, to bring people together. So I had some projects where I brought geneticists to the art academy. And, you know, the geneticist was never, ever exposed to art students, but they were never exposed to somebody for biogenetics. So I think to create more and more bridges, artist residencies, it's interaction, interlacing, interdisciplinarity. That's which will get us further. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that what also the Professor Wojtaszek was saying, that we have to be very alerted not to create our bubbles and to communicate with different people coming from different areas, speaking different languages, understanding terms and words in also different ways. But coming back to art, I think it is an incredibly powerful communication language between various people, coming from different cultures, also different disciplines. And it is also the tool to create these relations with others, with the world around us, and the world also inside us. So this is, I think that it is very important for this aim of education that we touch, that it's not only about the transfer of knowledge, but also to self-discovery, because I think that the arts, not only visual arts, but also music, dance, theater, they all should be integrated in educational processes. So the last question of our panel discussion, which somehow goes to the end slowly, is about how actually integrate the STEAM subject while respecting the genuine characters. And maybe I will ask also Przemysław about it, because there's a new STEAM curricula introduced in your faculty.
It will be a little bit difficult for me to answer. We should have Marlena here with us.
Yeah, she could not connect with us. She got some problems, unfortunately.
As you've noticed, probably I had also some internet problems, so they are making some renovation with the internet connections at the university. So yeah, but I would say that this is at least at the university level. I cannot say something about the lower levels of education, but at least at the university level, it seems for me that it is quite possible. Because for me, let's call it, all the elements are working on different areas of our personalities. So I would say that, let's say the science element, technological, engineering, they are all working on our capabilities, on our developed methodologies and languages. We perfectly know that basically each discipline or even sub-discipline has its own language, and we can communicate. In experimental sciences, we can also repeat something which is crucial for something being science, while for arts, repetition is something which is, we should see, the least we see repetition in arts, the better. So I would say that this would be something like this. The other possibility is also that let's call it, if we are teaching or learning or creating educational activities in science, we are rarely involving emotions, and this is something which is excellent in which arts in all the possible areas are much better than science. And I am convinced that combining knowledge with emotions is something which provides much better output. So I know that at least at the university level, it is something which can be achieved very rarely, but it is possible. But we also have, this would be also a question back. As Joanna and people from Poland perfectly know, we had at the university level, we have such a nice law, which for tens of years is saying that all the people from science areas should take courses in humanities and in social sciences. But no one is speaking ever that people from humanities and social sciences should take courses on science. And now we will have to add arts also in this.
Yeah. I think that the more we touch different fields, the more we expand our horizons, the more we can, of course, also achieve different points of views. So that is very, very important. I think that there's a lot of artists who are, in fact, very interested in sciences. So this is a very good trend. And I think that more and more also young people will take this double path and also cross the borders between disciplines. And I think that is more and more possibilities through different joint projects, which are not vertical, but are more and more horizontal, just like Rhizosphere also. So I think this is the kind of interesting activity, that the education start to be not only vertical, but multi-directional. Thank you so much for this discussion and for this meeting. But before we will finish that, I would like to ask again Daniel, who is our youngest participant, still from gymnasium, to tell us and share with us his dream lesson, or should it be a lesson?
Hello and welcome. This presentation will talk about the back, as was to talk about my dream lesson or how it would look like. Now I won't talk about a specific lesson, but how it would look like. Next page, please. Now, what's the general idea of this lesson? I imagine my dream lesson like a lesson where the lesson passes quickly in terms of how you perceive it or perception, even if it's actually the same length as a normal school lesson. So how would that work? When one is having fun, that person is not paying attention to the time because the person is completely distracted with what they're doing. When one is bored or does something that one doesn't really like, they pay more attention to time and wait for something to happen, and they're much more aware of time. And since nothing exciting or interesting happens to distract them from it, time passes more slowly, which of course it doesn't, it just seems that way. And this is called flow, and there's a definition on the slide. You can visit the website, the Wikipedia article there. Flow is the mental state in which a person performing some activity is fully immersed in a feeling of energized focus, full involvement and enjoyment in the process of activity. In essence, flow is characterized by the complete absorption of what one does and a resulting transformation of sense of time. Now to the next page or slide, please. So some examples where I feel like the flow, the so-called flow affects me is in PE classes, for example, where you solve problems also by communicating with other students and where you go outside, then by using electronic devices which capture young people's attention, and lastly, games and quizzes. These also engage people young people mostly to be more productive, let's say. Next slide, please. So how can schools and teachers make students get to the mental states of flow? Firstly, by implementing more technology in schools, which is pretty important in my opinion. Secondly, by adding new learning methods, like you talked about earlier, the STEAM methodology and some others. And lastly, by adding more problem-seeking tasks, which don't necessarily have to be plain text problems, can also be other problems. Yeah, this is short presentation I did. Thank you for paying attention.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you. That is, I think, that is the best ending of our meeting. And I have also the message to Daniel, but to all young people and not only who are still, to keep this curiosity and passion for learning new things. And remember that no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's the words from Theodore Roosevelt. I think that it's a good motto for finishing this very interesting, inspiring meeting. And we can see that in recent years, there have been many debates on the effectiveness of the interdisciplinary STIL methodologies linking science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics, and the framework for their application. But what is also valuable, what is ensured by working according to the principle of STEAM, is a sense of community, connecting people from different backgrounds, united in interdisciplinary research based on symbiosis, diversity, and interdependence, and taking up appropriate challenges. So I believe that our meeting today, this webinar, will inspire you also to join this community. So dear Przemysław, dear Marlena, dear Nina, dear Anna Maria, dear Piotr, dear Seda, dear Helena, Tomasz, and Daniel. Thank you so much for sharing your work, your passions, your visions. And I would also like to thank all the Rhizosphere team and team of Art and Science Node, all artists, scientists, and all who made this evening and the whole Art and Science program at Plant Biology Europe possible. And I would also like to thank all our audiences on Zoom, on Facebook, on social media for being with us, and who I believe got also inspired and will spread the word about the importance and potentials of interdisciplinary art and science collaborations. I might say that this moment is said in a double way. It is the end of our meeting, but also the end of Plant Biology Congress, but not our Art and Science Energy program, because our exhibition stays open to public in the form of original website and innovative AR application. And I would like to encourage you to experience it. And it will stay alive with updates and more accompanying events to come. So for those who did not have yet time to immerse in our artistic journey, I would like to play a short introduction, at the same time wishing you a relaxing, but also creative, thoughtful, and dreamful evening. So thank you so much, and yeah, goodbye.
With this commented video guided tour, I will walk you through the fully virtual exhibition, Capture the Futures, our biotech planet, the roots to roots, networks, and beyond, bridging the worlds of art, science, and technology. It involves interdisciplinary conversations, which offer original paths to explore and reflect on interconnections between environmental, cultural, and socio-political issues that shape both our present time and our futures. It provides an international survey of artworks and art projects created by artists inspired by scientific research and collaborating with scientists in the field of plant sciences, also biotechnology. On the search to pathways to renewal and recovery, we turn not only to the ingenuity of human creativity, new scientific discoveries, or technological solutions. We explore also the inspiration coming from the biological worlds flourishing around root systems, the highly effective networks of the Rhizosphere. Thus, understanding the world as a multifaceted environment gave rise to the concept of a root-like 3D interface. In its form, it refers to the root networks, while in its idea to the Wood Wide Web concept of the underground world of communication. On your way to explore the artworks, you will find yourself passing through its subsequent levels. In the end, you will move around or even inside a root-like labyrinth, traveling through and experiencing our biotech planet. So we envisioned our global human network as the Rhizosphere, expanding not only under our feet, but also everywhere around, entwining the Earth. It forms a delicate network of symbiosis, diversity, and interdependencies. We connect and interact with this biotech planet, endlessly exchanging information. Our actions influence the network well-being. Our virtual exhibition combines various artistic approaches, practices, and technologies. The visuals you just saw constitute the structure of the first of its component, the original website. Together with Augmented Reality App, they give a broad perspective of experiencing the featured artworks. By opening the exhibition on the website, you move inside the interface, and by traveling through the scenes, you will explore the artworks. You can control your journey in two different ways. By using bottom menu, you select specific artwork. By moving with the arrows, you can go forward or backward, and then your experience will be linear. The latter option will follow the complete narrative of the exhibition. And now about the Augmented Reality App. You can get the Art and Science Note application from both Google Play and App Store. Inside the app, our interface visualizing the exhibition's concept is used as a structure to move around it and explore artwork by artwork. Upon arrival to the app, guide yourself through the tutorial to get to know all the functionalities. And then once you enter the augmented reality environment, no matter where you are, it can be a room in your home, it can be a park, an urban surrounding, a street, or a forest, you can begin your journey through the exhibition. You will place the interface in space with the help of the markers and walk around it. 13 nodes inspired by the symbiotic nodes formed by Rhizobium bacteria and plant root systems are all interactive. When approaching them closely, they reveal the artwork each of them holds. You can see the nodes have 4 different colors, created in respect to 4 groups that the artworks were categorized by. Green for hybrid realities, purple for living systems, orange for tracing links, and red for shifting horizons.